All right. Hey there, everybody. Hey there, hi there, ho there, as it were. Um, we are here with your Port Haven StreamCast one day early. So
Yeah,
you've been lucky this week. You are getting us live on your devices, streaming at your face a day early. But that also means that now you have to wait more than a week before our
right.
next streamcast. So it's both good news and bad
And
news.
it's both kinds. Also, as some of you, those who follow on the Twitter, know, I share my recording space shares a wall with a bathroom that's under renovation. So we are in tropical recording area 2 today. So
Yeah,
that's
as tropical as you can get where you live. That's
it's pretty good
not a word
today.
I would use.
The sun is out, so there you go.
Well, we are here, as always, Professor Django and my pal Yoda Bauer here to talk some Star Wars at you. Unfortunately, we didn't have a big breaking news thing an hour before we started streaming like we did last week.
We
So
could still get it in the middle of the stream.
yeah,
You
like
never know.
just keep Twitter pulled up. You never know what might happen.
Watch, something huge will happen tomorrow,
Yeah.
and
but but we are here today. We wanted to chat with you like we do, but we thought we would spend our time today talking some video games. So be sure we want to have kind of an interactive day with you here. So be sure to
Mhm.
let us know what your favorites are. We're going to talk about some of our favorites. Let us know your video game questions. What games have you always wanted to play and never did? All of those sorts of things. Um, what was the first Star Wars video game you remember playing?
Ooh, ooh. The first two I played. So I never owned a console growing up, right? I so no Nintendo 64, no PlayStation, no anything. Um, so I missed out anything that was console only. I've never played. I think my first two Star Wars games, honestly, were at the same time. I bought them both on the same day. And it was Knights of the Old Republic 1 and the original Battlefront 1. Uh, so I missed all the early games, but
No.
I enjoyed both of those very much.
Well, the first two games I remember playing was the old arcade game. I don't know if you ever played that game, which was like you had to feed quarters into that thing if you wanted to get all the way through to the end. Um, it's like Discord has frozen.
Line.
Yeah, are you there?
Yep.
Yeah, Discord froze up there for a second. I don't know what happened. Um, anyway, I was saying uh, my first one probably would have been the old arcade game. And then the one that I really enjoyed and played a lot was for Super Nintendo, and that was Super Star Wars, um, which was a lot of fun to do back then. I'll always remember those two because those were the first two games that ever let me fly the trench run. Um, so, uh,
Yeah.
that always, as much as everything has a trench run kind of scene now.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I
that
think the real joke is every Star Wars game has a Hoth battle,
oh yeah,
right?
yeah. But like I still just remember being in there that first time where I got to be flying that X-wing fighter down that Death Star trench, and that'll always and I played a lot of Star Wars games over the years, but those are my first two, and especially Super Star Wars will always be one of my favorites. If you ever played Super Star Wars, I don't know if people in the comments have ever played Super Star Wars before, but like there's a level like I know you like Jawas, but
Yes.
like there's a level where you got to get into the sand crawler because in the fiction of Super Star Wars, you don't purchase the R2D2. You have to rescue him from inside the sand crawler. And so
Right.
you
It's
have to like
exactly like the
it's
movie.
like a platform kind of thing where you got to jump back and forth to like climb up and up and up. And if you
Mhm.
miss, you fall all the way back down to the beginning and have to start over. And that's just an awful lot of fun. In that way that things aren't fun at all. But the game itself was fun. You get to fight the Sarlacc in the very first level. Um, so
Again,
just lots of
totally realistic.
and very canon, very canon.
Right, totally. I'm trying to see if even still have it, but I probably don't. It's probably not supported anymore. But I remember back when iPhones first came out, and like you had like the tilt the screen and the game tilts technology.
Right.
I think it's called like an accelerometer or something like that. There was a Millennium Falcon game, and you would fly like I don't know if it was Millennium Falcon. It was called something. It might have just been called Trench Run, but you could fly as the Falcon or an X-wing, and you would steer by doing this.
Yeah.
And it was super fun, except for I would get really sick playing it.
Right.
But I loved that kind of thing. But there is something, even though I've never really had the pilot bug in Star Wars, there's something to like, oh, you're in the thing and what that feels like. Like even the original Battlefront 1 didn't have space battles, but you could get in ships and fly around and have aerial fights. And those were just stressful, but also really fun.
And as many hours as I've logged playing various Battlefront games, I still hardcore suck at flying.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know what it is, because like I remember playing the Rogue Squadron game back in the day, and they had a like a Battle for Naboo game, which was basically just a port of the Rogue Squadron game on N64, and I remember being awesome at those. And never once have I been good. Like I have been adequate enough at flying in Battlefront that I can accomplish mission goals, but that's being generous.
I'm bad at video games in general, like especially fighting games. I'm really terrible, but I think a lot of that comes from I've only ever played on a computer, and I've never gotten a controller for the computer.
Oh yeah.
And I've never really liked controllers anyway.
Right.
But because of it, a lot of my movement's choppy, a lot of my aiming's choppy.
Right.
I can't really like play as well as other people would play.
Right.
So I think that's where that comes from. But then again, you know, my favorite Star Wars game is Knights of the Old Republic. I kind of started too high. I like started with the best game. And then it's like you go from Knights of the Old Republic to Jedi Outcast, and it was like not doing it for me.
Well, see, I kind of have the opposite problem. I've always been a console gamer, and so anything that's super like keyboard heavy, I know that this is like a big thing online. Like where we might be treading into some dangerous waters about what's best. But yeah, I've always been a console gamer, and so like I remember playing Jedi Outcast on my computer, and like having a real steep learning curve there, and that's one of the reasons why I never played Star Wars Galaxies or the Old Republic game, which are kind of the two that I feel like I most missed out on. But other games, so like I've played Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds a little bit. And I know there are some other real-time strategy stuff that I want to play. A lot of it gets pretty cheap on Steam here and there too.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, what are there any games that you feel like you really like missed out on, like things you wished you could have played?
Yes. So as many people who know me and like to remind me and mock me for, the computer I run is a Apple computer. So I am somewhat limited in what even comes out for it. So the original Battlefront 2, I was never able to play, and I've been told that that's phenomenal. I really did enjoy the first one. I do have and I love Empire at War, but the expansion Forces of Corruption never came out for Mac,
right?
Which is too bad. I understand this is not a well-received game, but I don't even care. I always wanted to play The Force Unleashed 2. I have The Force Unleashed, and I have the Ultimate Sith Edition, and I really liked it. I get it. It's not like the best game ever, and there's a couple of parts like the Star Destroyer that are just kind of awful. But I did enjoy the story. It helped a lot that I actually read the game novelization.
Right.
And I read the novel for TFU too, also. But I liked the Ultimate Sith edition because I liked the what if levels, the Tatooine one where you like go into Jabba's palace. There's the Hoth one where you fight like a dark side Luke Skywalker, because
Right.
every Star Wars game has to have a Hoth level. Um, and then there's a Jedi Temple on Coruscant level that I think might have actually been in the console version, but didn't get ported to PC, but
Yeah.
was in PC in the Ultimate Sith edition. It was kind of weird.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. The big ones I feel like I've missed out on, which you like real time strategy games like that
yeah,
type of thing anyway, and so I never really played much of those. One because I've always been kind of a first person shooter kind of thing. Turn based things. If I'm going to play turn based, I want a D20 in my hand and a
right,
tabletop game where I'm checking my attack roll against your armor class.
right.
Which I guess we could talk about that too, because we both have a very little bit of experience with
Very little.
with Star
Oh,
Wars role
that was
playing
an
games.
epic. That the last session though was epic. I think I wanted to leave it there because I will never be that amazing again.
Yeah, none of
No,
you were there, obviously, but in our last session where Jess and I were playing the Star Wars role playing game,
yeah.
um, we were rolling, and she was doing like sewing checks to make like a costume for a thing, and she got like a nat 20 and ended up with like the most baller cape ever known in the Star Wars universe. Um,
I think it's like there was no disguise to buy. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy curtains and sew them into my all temperature cloak. And, and you're like, this is a really bad idea. And I'm like, I'm gonna do it anyway. And then you were just like, well, you rolled a 20, so this is the best cloak you've ever got.
but I always felt like I missed out on Star Wars Galaxies. I wanted to play Star Wars Galaxies so much,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
when Star Wars Galaxies came out, I don't even remember when it came out. It was like late high school, early college for me.
Yeah, because it had expansions for Revenge of the Sith, like
Yeah,
Trials of Obi-Wan. There
right.
was a Wookiee one.
But I was not in a place where I could afford at the time a
Right.
monthly fee, and so I'm like, well,
Yeah.
this is not a thing I can do. And I guess as like spite since then, I just hate the idea of monthly fees for
I
games, and so I never played the Old Republic either, even when it went free.
Yeah, I never played the Old Republic either because of that. And like I know that you could play for free up until a certain point, but I was like, yeah, but it's going to be one of those things where like right when you get into the game,
Right.
then you're going to have to start paying money. And I'm like, nope, I'm not even going to do that to myself. And I read most of the Tor novels that were really good, but I never played that one either.
Right.
But I think what I'm kind of sad about is like forget how well received the new Battlefront games have been,
Mm-hmm.
even in a world where they were amazing games and everyone loved them.
Right.
I would still be disappointed in that there are not more new games coming out. Like, I'm really surprised that they have basically mobile games and Battlefront, and
Right.
that's all they're making. And especially when you have games like Knights of the Old Republic that were so popular, like even among non-Star Wars fans, you find people who play Knights
Mm-hmm.
of the Old Republic and liked it. And like Star Wars just lends itself to the RPG world so well.
Right.
Um, I don't know if that's the story group not wanting to like delve into canon yet. Like I think when we get on the other side of episode 9, there's going to be a floodgate of content and
Yeah.
video games could be included. But I don't know. I'd love to see a return to that.
I mean, and the thing that gets me about it is like I don't understand one because I feel like there's a market for it. And
Mm-hmm.
with a lot of the mobile games that are out there, it's just basically this is Star Wars versions of Age of Empires, or this is,
Mm-hmm.
or like literal license, like this is Star Wars Angry Birds.
Right.
And that type of stuff is easy to do. And so I don't really know, obviously both are undertakings that I don't have the technical expertise to do, so I don't want to make light of it. But I
Right.
can't imagine that it's so difficult to make other Star Wars games that it would be prohibitive. You know,
Right.
like why is there not, for all the nostalgia of people like me that love the Rogue Squadron game, like why is there not a Poe Dameron X-wing game out
Right.
there? You know,
And
like
that doesn't
even
even need to have a strong story. Like it could be the story of
right,
the Force Awakens.
or even the story of like some of the comic stuff that we've seen,
Right.
with Poe's Black Squadron or things like that. Or maybe not Poe, but maybe your I got Poe and Snap here behind me, but
Hmm.
maybe your Snap Wexley. Or like, why was there never a Rebels tie-in game?
Right.
Like I feel
There
like
were
there's
apps. There were a lot of apps,
sure,
but
but I just feel like back in the '90s and the early 2000s, we would have had dozens of Star Wars games by
right.
now. And like the Star Wars 1313 thing looked really nice and then just completely fell apart. And I understand that there was a buyout and ownership
Yeah.
changed and priorities changed, but it is kind of amazing given the sort of era of Star Wars video games, that I kind of grew up in, that there hasn't been anything. Whether you liked Battlefront 1-1 and 2-1 or 2, I don't know what you want to call
Right.
them
Yeah.
these days.
The
Yeah.
EA, the new ones.
Yep. Whether you like new Battlefront 1 and 2 or not, like the fact that there are no other major Star Wars video games
Right.
really doesn't make sense to me. And like I know that Knights of the Old Republic 2 didn't do as well as KOTOR 1 financially, and so I don't know if there's. I can't imagine that it would be a marketing thing. I can't
But
imagine
like
that there's no profit in it to
even
motivate making
KOTOR
them.
2 though, like KOTOR 2 for not doing as well has such a fan following. So
Right.
I mentioned before, like I said, I'm on Mac. I can't play a lot of the games. KOTOR 2 was not on Mac until like last year or the
Yeah.
year before. And it's an old game.
Right.
And then it randomly got ported to Mac out of nowhere for no particular reason that
Right.
I can determine. And like, so the fact that they would go through the hassle to do that, it coincided, I think, the Restoration Project mod came out,
Right.
which is the thing that kind of goes through and completes the game. So I have a much better impression of KOTOR 2 than a lot of people because I've only ever played it with the mod.
Right.
And I really liked it. I have issues with Knights of the Old Republic 2 because I'm such a Force snob.
Yeah.
I like a lot of the stuff that goes on in KOTOR 2, like even in Legends canon, I'm like, that's not how the Force works. But okay, this is a fun game, so we'll go with it. But there's no Force voids or things like that. But sure, like I had such a hard time playing it. Where I was like, the
Right.
Force isn't all life. You can't have life that doesn't have the Force. The Force isn't all life. You can't have life without the Force. Like this game is fundamentally wrong. It still bothers me, but the story was amazing, and I really liked it.
Right.
But the fact that that was that fan-led mod to complete the game, and that they would release the game, and then like Knights of the Old Republic 1 has been ported to mobile. I don't know if you guys know this, but on Android and iOS, you can play the entirety of Knights of the Old Republic 1 on your phone. Like it's all there, all the voice, all the music. I love playing it
Right.
on mobile actually because it's great for a touchscreen. And I guess I thought of this when you brought up the Rogue Squadron games. It's like, why aren't they even just doing that with more games? Like, why aren't they porting more things to mobile?
Right. Well,
get caught up on chat here.
And that's one of the things to me too is I honestly just don't understand because like the framework is there, and like if you told people here's a game that's just like Knights of the Old Republic that's set in a different time period, like I know a lot of people were drawn into that because of the Old Republic legends and the sort of fan community, even yourself included around Revan and things like that. But like the game itself was fun.
Yeah.
Like even apart from what I think is one of the best video game twists in a game I've ever played before.
Yes.
In Knights of the Old Republic, like I just feel like I don't understand why we can't do that again. Like there just doesn't seem to me to be a good reason why. And like you're talking about KOTOR 2. I really like KOTOR 2 also. Apart from the sort of beautiful simplicity, I feel like, of the story in the first KOTOR game and that big twist, I really like the story in KOTOR 2. My only problem with it is they pulled what I like to call a Shakespeare at the end, where it just gets really, really expository at the ending because you didn't really know how to make it work. So, like, I'm the one that sits there, and I don't know if this is you. I don't know how many. I think you've played it through, twice?
Yeah.
But every time I play it through, I'm the one that sits there, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to have to spend 45 minutes now clicking through all of these different chat options to find out what happens.
I have to role play like I care. Yep. Yeah, that was the funniest thing. It's like, you're standing here with a woman who just tried to murder you, and you're like, but tell me the future of all of my friends. Yep. What is going on right now?
But
oh, man.
Yeah, I remember, so speaking of Knights of the Old Republic 2 for a second.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I remember, like, the time that I was playing it through when I realized that basically everybody could be a Jedi. Yep. And that completely changed my game plan. Like, my playthrough, like, it was so different. Like, even, like, the first time I played KOTOR, I was, like, trying to make these, like, genuine, what would I do in these situation choices. And I ended up as this really gray character, which meant not that gray Jedi are a thing. It's not a gray Jedi order. But I was on the light and dark meter. I was right in the middle. And it made it so hard because the way the game mechanics work is...
Oh, man. Gray is hard mode in a KOTOR game.
And so...
For real.
Yeah, and so I had such a hard time playing it through. Which, talk about this for a minute, too, because you and I have talked about this a lot, too. So you've never done a dark side playthrough. As much as you like KOTOR, you've never gone dark. And that's a completely different game experience. So talk about that for a second.
I tried KOTOR once. I was like, this is going to be my dark side playthrough. And I was on the Endar Spire, which is the tutorial level. And I said something mean, and I was like, I can't do this. And I started the game over again.
Yeah, the dark side playthrough of KOTOR, especially KOTOR 1, though, you become so OP so quickly.
Yes.
That the best way to play the game just becomes, okay, well, I'll murder everyone in this level, and then I'll walk around and find the thing I'm looking for, because it'll still be laying there.
Yeah, it's, I feel like playing it gray is hardest, and then, like, playing it light is normal, and then playing it as a Darksider is just easy mode. Like, it's just straight. You have only combat powers. You've presumably, like, built your character only towards combat. You don't have to put skills and intelligence or anything, because you're not trying to get out of a fight.
Right.
So, like, all of your stats are min-maxed. You have only combat powers, and you don't have to do any kind of story or any kind of puzzle or any kind of, like, thought thing. You're literally just slaughtering everyone.
Yep.
And it's just, like, I mean, I guess it's easy for me to say when I haven't played it, but it's, like, the easiest way to play the game.
I mean, it's different. There are more consequences to it in KOTOR 2, especially because when you make dark choices, you close off some of the, like, character trees, like in the conversation trees kind of things, and so it affects the game in that way. But I don't know, it's just so different. But I was thinking about this earlier. I almost want to play through one of the KOTOR games and, like, only lean into the really silly light side powers. Like, I want to be the best force animal controller there is.
Right.
And, like, never once go, like, force push or anything. Like, I just... all the like, superfluous ones.
I hate with the light side, like, most of the powers are buffs, which are so useless.
Yeah.
Because what I never understood about buffs in either of the Knights of the Old Republic games is it's a turn-based game, but all of your buffs are real-time.
Right.
So you'll get, like, a strength boost for 2 minutes, but the game doesn't, recognize 2 minutes. Right. And so it's like, by the time I've buffed myself as a light side character, the dark sider has hit me, like, 8 times, and my first buff is already wearing off. Like, what is the point of this?
And Star Wars Ramblings in the chat says that they always had an issue with the BioWare morality simulator. It makes you either be a total dick or the most naive
Yes.
person ever.
Yes,
And
that's also true.
I agree with that too, and I feel like that's one thing. At the time, I feel like apart from like Beyond Good and Evil and a couple of other games, I don't feel like there were more advanced morality simulators at the time. But I feel like that would be something you could do today where you could have a much more nuanced version of this. And that's just another example of I don't understand why we don't have these today. Or even like something like a Telltale game. Like I understand that licensing's involved, but I feel like that would be a real like there's a Minecraft Telltale game.
Right.
Like
well,
how hard could it be?
Telltale made Guardians of the Galaxy, so it's not like they can't get Disney properties, even though they started Warner Brothers. But yeah, I mean, for some of you know that I'm playing through Wolf Among Us on an experiment channel I have, and but I was thinking about that. Or I remember when I played Life is Strange, which I know is not a Star Wars game, but when I played Life is Strange for the first time, my mind was blown. Because there's no morality choices. Right. I mean, some of them are, but there really aren't. There's literally like bad choice 1 and bad choice 2. Right. And like that's what you play for the whole game. And it was crazy. And I would love to see a Star Wars game with a more complex morality system. And they can't really do that. Speaking of chat, I think we've ignored a couple of good comments here. Echo a ways back said the only Star Wars game had played is Rogue Squadron, which again, I don't know why those don't get ported to mobile because or like not even to mobile, like just update them for now. You don't even have to give them like a remastered or anything.
Some of these games are slowly being released on like the PlayStation Store.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars Bounty Hunter, I know just got released on the PlayStation Store and stuff like that, but I don't know why there's not more of that either.
Nolan played Star Wars Galaxies and he was good at weapons crafting, which does not surprise me. He's a crafter in real life.
Our friend on Port Haven, I think his name right now is still Jay on Port Haven. But he'll tell you about his time in Star Wars Galaxies, that he was basically what he calls a Star Wars Galaxies interior decorator, where people would pay him to come like decorate their houses in Star Wars Galaxies. And so like that's what like he was just like a regular person in the universe and would go around and design people's houses.
Nolan says that he enjoyed Shadows of the Empire and he did a speed run. He did. I was not actually there for it, but I was talking to him on Discord voice chat while he was doing it. It was very amusing. And then any other game related comments? By the way, guys, if you're watching the channel there, Star Wars Ramblings is another good Star Wars channel. So if you guys want more Star Wars content, you should check out his channel. It's very good for. He's got a lot of great reviews. Yeah. Very good reviews channel.
And if you're unaware, we've got, don't look at the timeliness of the current series, but we've got 2 different Star Wars Let's Play series on our channel. Yoda Bauer played through Jedi Outcast a while back, and I've been playing through Star Wars Bounty Hunter. So you can check those out too, and let us know if you've got other games you'd like to see us play. I know we've had a couple of games suggested here and there, and I've still suggested, and maybe chat can help me peer pressure Yoda Bauer into playing a Dark Side run for the YouTube channel. Do it for the Vine.
It would be fun. I think it would be fun. You guys could all be there while I freak out.
Have moral quandaries. We could even do if we did it this is just spitballing. I don't know how if we could get it to work, but if we could do it as a streaming thing, you could even let chat make your bad decisions for you, so you can sleep a little bit better.
It wasn't me. It was the chat. I promise. I have to do what they tell me to do.
Let the chat be your dark side cave.
Yes. Oh man.
Echo wants to know what we would recommend to a gaming newbie. I think that if you're just depends on what you're looking for. I'll put it this way: there are a lot of really fun Star Wars mobile games that have come out in the last couple of years. that I have enjoyed playing at different times. The problem with those is that you hit a paywall eventually, and so the people that are willing to pay actual money end up being way better at it. But some of those are fun. If you like consoles or have access, there's a lot of old games. Again, Super Star Wars is an easy game to play. That was one that I really enjoyed. A lot of these games are pretty available, in like secondhand stores or like a GameStop if you go through their old stuff. But KOTOR is an easy game to figure out and probably the best game to play. It doesn't require a lot of technical like gaming skill. What would be some games you recommended?
If you don't want to try something on the computer, this is one I've meant to get back into, and I think it'd be fun if Django and I made some videos. It's loading still, but Galaxy of Heroes is really popular on mobile. I think you all just saw my Game Center, which is fine. You can find me on Game Center. And then there's also, what was the one we used to play? Force Arena?
Force Arena, yeah.
I think Force Arena is still getting updates. I keep meaning, we were into that one for a while.
We really were.
Like, that's all we did. I had to eventually con someone into giving me the Wi-Fi password at work. Because I was racking up so much data playing that game at work.
I didn't have a computer that would have let me do this at the time, or a phone really, but there was even a point where I was going to do like daily lunchtime Force Arena playthroughs for a few minutes, because when that came, that was a fun game too, and like there were like a lot of strategic things.
Yep.
But I felt like that got kind of paywall-y after a while too.
It got really grindy.
If you wanted to update your characters and stuff, like
level them up. I mean, I don't think there was anything technically behind a paywall, but I mean, I'm pretty sure it's an EA game, so it was the classic, like, you can play for 900 hours or pay $1.
Right.
But yeah, I liked it for a while. I think also what happened was it was new, and it would, like, every update would rebalance it, and then I think it was just kind of, there was a period of time where it got kind of bad. And then I just never went back to it, even though I've been told it's way better now. I just moved on to other apps. I have really bad attention span with apps.
Well.
And then there's always Star Wars Card Trader, which isn't a real game, but you and I put a lot of time into that one too.
Yeah, I was still into that even after you stopped, but I haven't even opened the app in like 2 months.
Yeah, if you thought EA was bad, just meet a Star Wars app run by Topps.
Yeah. Yeah, it got to the point where there were cards that like you could only purchase.
Right.
It just became a larger and larger percentage of the cards were ones that you had to purchase.
Oh, that game was that app was crazy too, because there was like the eBay economy, but then there was like what cards were worth in the app. Mm-hmm. And you remember VintageHon.com?
Yep.
And they would put out like value guides. And then I was in a cabal for that app for a long time. And one of our cabal members like ran VintageHon.com. And like then somebody wanted to make like OB Wide Vision, the rival side. All of this stuff would make sense if you played the app. Right. That was like a whole weird subculture for a long time.
Nolan said he was on Card Trader.
You played Card Trader? Oh my gosh, I didn't know you played Card Trader.
Nolan, what was the most valuable card you have? What was the one you were proud
of? The most valuable one I have is an OB Wide Vision, and through one of my Cabal members, I reacquired my Sith Connection cards.
Yeah, the ones that you gave me for free.
Yeah. When I rage quit the app one of the times. And then I have a couple of like really low count base cards that are Yoda that only are like valuable to other Yoda collectors.
And there are still some, this is going to be really esoteric for some of you and you won't care at all, but there are still some of those cards that are just so overpriced. Like the one card I could never get. Like, and I offered entire sets, like 30 card sets to people trying to get that stupid Django Reflections card. Like it's the one card that I wanted. Like I've got Django variants that were in like the double digits. Like that's how rare they were. I had whole sets. I had Star Wars Selects or Galaxy Selects. That's what they were. Like I
Mhm.
was giving away entire waves of these trying to get these cards, and nobody would come off of them. And I'm like, you have 6 of them. Like, can't you?
Oh my gosh.
But it's
You know what probably hurt you though is you probably needed a secondary account. Not that those were legal, but whatever. Because what would happen is they would check your account, and when they'd see you had all of the Django cards, that's when the price goes up.
Yeah.
Like I had that problem with Yoda cards, where it's like where if you trade from another account that doesn't look like there's a particular character you value,
yeah.
you can get better deals because they figure you don't need the card.
Right.
I feel like we could probably do a whole streamcast just on Star Wars card trading.
Yeah, probably. And nobody would care.
No one would care. I'm still in my cabal. We have a Discord group, but we don't talk as much anymore because we've all moved on to other things.
I mean, I still remember, like, Nolan, I don't know when you, like, got into it, but, like, Jess was, like, ground door, and I was, like, a week later.
Yep.
But we were
if I had started 2 days sooner, I would have had a Vintage Han and an Obi-Wan Vision.
Yeah.
I started, like, day 3, which is how I got the Sith Connect, which
Right.
means nothing to anyone who wasn't there in 2015.
But looking back now at how easy it was to get some of those cards, and how like stupid it was that we traded them all away.
Yep. We
Like-
had no idea.
Like I
It
was
was
getting
like- it was
vintage
like
cards
Beanie
every week because you could just
Yeah.
get 5 of them,
Right.
and it was no big deal.
It was like Beanie Babies. Like you start like when those things got huge for like little dolls that had weird beans in them. But I remember vividly at Port Haven we have hangouts where a lot of our regulars we all get on a Google Hangout and chat with each other and stuff. And we did a hangout for the Star Wars celebration when they dropped the Force Awakens the first theatrical trailer, the second trailer overall.
Right.
And it was the first one where you saw like Rey on the speeder going in front of the Star Destroyer.
Right.
And I have a vivid memory of watching that trailer with everyone and reacting. But I also have a vivid memory of you're laughing because you must remember it too.
Yep.
We were watching the Force Awakens panel, and Django and I are both sitting there on our phones trying to pull a vintage card. It was the Victors. It was the medal ceremony one.
Oh,
and
right,
we like
yeah.
both got one. And we're like, oh my gosh. I don't even want to think about how upset it was. It was bad. I would spend hours every day grinding Tapjoy to get more free credits.
Oh,
I
yeah.
once, so there were Sears ads in there, and those Sears ads paid nice. And I remember in the height of my addiction, I drove past a Sears, and I almost pulled in the parking lot so I could get credits.
This is something I will share with our stream friends that I probably shouldn't say. But let's say that there was a hypothetical person named, Dr. Django PhD, who enjoyed Star Wars Card Trader and had a wife, might have ordered flowers through 1-800-Flowers on Tapjoy around Valentine's Day one year, just so that he could get 1.5 million credits on Star Wars Card Trader. That might have happened if there was such a hypothetical person.
I'm not. I think we've been talking about Card Trader for 10 minutes.
But I would be in faculty meetings on campus trying to get cards back in that early day.
Frick, man. I have a friggin' article on Port Haven. It's like a beginner's guide. It's so out of date now because like the base cards don't even exist anymore.
Right.
But it was like how to know values of yellows and how to use your daily yellows to get inserts.
Oh, daily yellows. Yep. I remember that.
Oh, the good old days, like 2015 Card Trader. Anyway, sorry guys. I know this isn't.
But yeah, so I've played basically, with the exception of some of the real-time strategy games and the monthly fee games, I've played basically every Star Wars video game since like the X-Wing versus TIE Fighter game and the Super Star Wars game. And there are just so many good ones. And I feel like because I'm a fan of other franchises whose games have been really terrible, like I can tell you Star Wars fans have been lucky to have such a sort of bounty
Right.
of good games. I'm a big Batman fan. I mean, I got the shirt on today too. But like until Arkham Asylum, every Batman game ever produced was garbage. And there you
You
go.
remember the disruption cards?
Yep.
I think I have a full disruption set unless
Yep.
they came out with a new wave.
See, I'm gonna have to reinstall the app because iOS has deleted it because it's been that long since I opened it. But now I want to show off all my good cards.
There will one day be a Star Wars card creator stream. I promise.
I've probably got, like, if I were to sell some of this stuff online,
The market's really tanked, to be honest.
has it?
Yeah.
Because there was a time where I probably had a couple $100 worth of stuff. Let's see what other things.
According to my cabal, that's all moved on to Pokemon Go, and then now on to other things since Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
They're trying to get rid of a bunch of their cards, and they say that eBay market's really down.
Maybe I can get that Django Reflections on the cheap. But so while we're talking about just Star Wars gaming in general, I can tell you this one. We already mentioned the role-playing game, which I've done a couple of times. And maybe if there's some of you out there that are interested, we could try to start that again. That was a fun thing to do. And I put a lot of planning into an arc that we never finished.
Well, part of it was because the game was just you and me,
right,
and it got to a point where I just felt really dumb, like sitting there pretending I was this. I feel like in a group I could totally like go for it.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Like, yeah.
And I know Bear was here earlier. He has a D&D thing that he does, right?
Yeah, the Wolfpack does. I don't think Bear's in it.
Oh.
I
thought somebody ran a D&D
Couch Bum is in it.
It is, yeah.
With Runaway Robot is the Dungeon Master. Professor Sacrum joined it because I think Latana left.
Right.
Bonus Stage Rob, who's in Rob from Bonus Stage Heroes, who's in our holiday special videos. Yeah. He's in on it, and somebody who's gonna be really mad at me for forgetting that he exists is in it.
But there's the edition we were playing of Star Wars role-playing game was basically 3rd edition D&D. If you ever played D&D, that's kind of the classic version is 3rd edition. And then there's a new one called Edge of Empire, which is a different type of dice-based game that's really fun. But then I have a friend, and I've played this a couple of times, but this is a money sink too, and so I've never gotten into it myself. But one of my good friends is really into the Star Wars miniatures game. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but you can buy these miniatures at like bookstores and game stores. But it's like fighters that you lay out on a tabletop, and you got like rulers, and they do maneuvers, and you roll dice to fire at each other, and like play through scenarios. And he's really deep. He's probably got $1,000 sunk into all the different miniatures that he's got whole fleets that he can play with. And that's a really cool thing too. That's fun to play. I just don't have that type of disposable income.
Yeah.
But so, and that really gets me back to is that there are so many. Nolan says we should play Sabacc. Man,
that'd be fun.
I played so much. It wasn't Sabacc. What was the game? Pazaak. Yeah,
and Pazaak would be really
like
easy.
Space blackjack.
Just blackjack.
Yeah. But I was the best
Sabacc. Sabacc, you would need a computer that would change the values of your cards.
Yeah. But I played so much Pazaak on KOTOR, which was really, I guess, the type of thing that when I was low on money, you could save and then you could play, and then if you didn't win, you could go back to your save and just keep playing until you eventually win. 100%.
I save scummed Pazaak in Knights of the Old Republic, and I save scummed Swoop Racing.
Yeah, I was about to say that's the only reason I'm the best swoop racer in the galaxy in Star Wars and KOTOR. But there's just so many different things that Star Wars Rambling says the Saga Edition RPG book. That's the one we were playing. And it's basically just D&D 3.5 in there.
Yeah.
And, it's really kind of the classic rule set. And it's really easy to pick up if you've ever played D&D before. Edge of Empire. If you've never played Edge of Empire before, you should look into it. It's really fun. It's like I said, it's a different type of dice game, and it's more narrative in a way than your sort of standard third edition D&D Saga edition type thing. But it's really really cool too. Their Star Wars Ramblings. If you've ever played that before, or if you've got a group, I would recommend it pretty highly too. And there's dice sets, like an online dice set thing that you can play too, so you don't even have to buy the dice. But have you ever gotten into any? I mean, we did the one sort of attempt at role playing game ourselves, but have you ever played any of that kind of stuff before either?
No, that was my kind of first introduction to it, and I liked it. It was just a thing of like, it was just kind of hard to try it for the first time and not have a group to play off of.
Right.
And I think if I had a group to play off of, I could have enjoyed it. Because as it was, I was just sitting there like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Like, I could literally come, because like I'm used to Knights of the Old Republic, so like I knew, even though I didn't know the same stats, I knew how stats worked, right? I knew what attribute points were versus skill points and that sort of thing. And I was the person that in Knights of the Old Republic, I was always looking at the feedback menu to see my damage breakdowns and to see how my weapons were doing. But while all of that stuff's there, in a computer game, you inevitably are stuck with what the computer will let you do. Where when you're playing the game for real, you're stuck with whatever I end up doing, you know, if you're the game master. So it was a little bit like, I can literally go anywhere. And I kind of knew that. If any of you are interested in role playing and also like webcomics, I'm way behind in the series. I keep meaning to binge through it again, but there's a great webcomic called Darts and Droids. And Darts and Droids imagines Star Wars as if it was never a film series and it was only ever a role-playing game. And they take screen caps from the films and change the dialogue. And they started with The Phantom Menace, and now I think they're like on Rogue One. And I don't even mean like they got through 3 and went to Rogue One. I mean, they were on like Empire when Rogue One came out. So I think they've finished Jedi and are going back now.
I read through about halfway through episode 2 of Darts and Droids before I realized that it was D&D.
Yep.
I kind of missed that obvious.
Even with
there.
like the first comic where it's like the 10-foot laser pole.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that's like the fiction, but I didn't realize like Darts and Droids.
Yeah.
D&D.
D&D, yeah, Dungeons and Dragons.
And Rambling says that he wants a 5th edition version of Star Wars IP. Yeah, that'd be really fun. I've got a regular 5th edition game that I play semi-weekly, like every other week kind of thing. And honestly, this is kind of bad, but I kind of like 5th edition more than 3rd edition, which some people don't want to hear. But I would love a kind of 5th edition version of Star Wars. But I don't know that that's how they're going, just because they keep putting out updates for Edge of Empire, and so I think they've kind of moved in that direction. But yeah, I would still be down. You know, I said this kind of jokingly before. If anybody wanted to do Star Wars, you know, that was why it kind of fell apart before, is because we didn't have people who were interested. So if you like RPGs, we could definitely give that a try. Maybe even do some streams or videos off of that too.
I would say DM us on Twitter or go to Port Haven and find us somewhere there, and we can try to hook something up. We could even start like we don't really want to start like a Port Haven Discord, because we have, whenever people are like, does Port Haven have a Discord? I'm like, yes, we do. It's forums.port-haven.com. You can sign up whenever you want. But I feel like for something like that, we could start up like a game server or something.
And 2 of our Port Haven friends, I actually walked all the way through character creation with, and they never actually played. So if you just want a ready-made character, I have 2 of them that I can let you have. So we've got a few minutes left here. Any other thoughts you've had on video games or Star Wars?
What's your
games
favorite? What would you like to see? That kind of thing.
Right.
I will say, while we're waiting to see if anybody else has something else to say, I intentionally put the LucasArts logo on this thumbnail because it's one of my biggest pet peeves, and it's one of those things where I've like had to teach myself to not correct people when they're speaking to me because it's really not that important, I guess. But I can't tell you how many people have sat down and be like, yeah, I really miss the old days when LucasArts was making the movies and it wasn't owned by Disney. And I'm like, LucasArts never made the movies, like Lucasfilm. And it really bothered me. People didn't know the difference. And it's like Lucasfilm made the films, LucasArts made the video games. And I don't know why that really bothered me, but it always really bothered me. Star Wars Rambling says Episode 1 Racer all day, every day. That one, I think I had a friend who had it. So like I didn't play it per se, but like I played it with someone else.
Now, is that the same thing? Because I played a game that was Episode 1. It was Star Wars. It was called Bombard Racer, where you were all like in like little weird like cartoony.
Oh, that's like the Mario Kart Star Wars?
Yeah.
I think this one was like a pod racer game.
Oh, okay. Because I definitely played that one, and that's super cheesy.
I've always wanted to play Masters of Terras Cassie. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's like the Star Wars Mortal Kombat. It was supposed to be terrible. We somehow went a whole like 50 minutes so far and didn't talk about any of the Lego Star Wars games.
Oh,
which
yeah.
really blew up because now there's like all these Lego Star Wars series and everything.
Right.
I have all of the I have the ones for episodes 1 through 6, and I was enjoying it, but it's so hard by yourself, and I own it on a computer, not like on a console, so it's harder for me to have like somebody come over and play it with me because I don't have controllers. And I got to this one part that was almost impossible. Right. I think I was in. I don't think I beat. I don't think I beat Attack of the Clones, to be honest. But I loved them and I loved the humor. It was just the port was bad and I didn't have a person to play with. It's like, to play this in the right conditions, I would love it.
I played the first couple of them on my DS. Back when I still played my DS. But they were a lot of fun too, and I do kind of like that. I've never played a Lego game that I didn't enjoy just because that play style and that sense of humor.
Right.
I mean, in a lot of ways, it's the same across franchises. When you're playing a Lego game, they're all kind of Lego games, but they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that's what I have to say. I think we hit all of the important comments. If you guys were asking something or wanted us to address something, leave a comment afterwards. I know there's a lot of people who watch these later on, and I still like talking to you guys, so don't think just because we're not live anymore that I don't want to continue the conversation. I love the comment section. And, again, and you can always find us on Twitter.
We're still got some gaming content on our channel, and we're not opposed to doing more. So if you want to see more of that, let us know that. Let us know specifically what games you'd like to see. If you ever want to play a game, like we might open up the door and let you do some stuff for Port Haven.
It was always the dream that this would be a community channel. So
you can leave that in the comments. Hit us up on Twitter. Like my pal Yoda Bauer was saying, you can find us on Facebook, on our blog site at port-haven.com. You can come to our forums at forums.port-haven.com. All of that stuff there on the screen you can see and find us in all the places. Remember, so we were a week early today, so if you didn't see us on Twitter, that's because you're not following us on Twitter or that you're not subscribed and hit the bell on YouTube. So make sure that you do all of those things so that you know when you can expect us and get notified when we go live.
Yes, in theory, next week we'll be back to Thursdays at this time. But then again, you never know because this changed last minute. So that's why you got to follow us on the Twitter.
Yep. So, again, follow us on all the things as we do try to be your Star Wars Refuge online. Let us know, too. So we're still looking for topics for future weeks. So we're planning a big Bounty Hunter week.
Yep.
and our gaming discussion kind of just coalesced today. So if you've got topics you want us to cover, we've been talking Rebels for the last month, and Rebels is over now. So we didn't have Rebels to talk about, but if you got topics for us, you can write those in the comments or, again, on Twitter or all the other places. Let us know about that. But that's all I've got for today.
Yep. It was wonderful chatting with you. It's so great to see so many of you show up. If you're still here and you're a member of the YouTube Wolfpack, leave a howl in the chat. Yagi, who was here, Bare Naked Gaming, who was here, for sure. I'm not sure if I missed anybody else.
Sarge
They
was here for a
are,
minute.
and Sarge, Sergeant Curry Pants, are partners of ours through the YouTube Wolfpack, and you should click on their channels and subscribe to them. Bear's a streamer. Yagi is a streamer on Twitch, but has some YouTube stuff, and Sergeant Curry Pants posts really great videos about donuts on YouTube.
I do enjoy donuts. The Krispy Kreme near me has a Nutella-filled donut.
Oh.
Yeah. I could talk about that for a while, too. But instead, I think that's going to do it for us this week on the stream. So thanks for hanging out, guys.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Later.